Welcome everyone to this first look at Malus Darkblade in the Shadow and the Blade DLC. So today guys, I'm going to be playing Clan Eshin led by the Deathmaster, so it's going to be the DLC showdown between the Deathmaster and Malus Darkblade. And Lore Master of Sotek is going to be playing Graef led by Malus Darkblade, and I believe he is going to be riding atop his mighty steed, Spite. Now as far as the build goes, for the Skaven, it's going to be pretty chaff heavy, which is very typical for the Skaven. Frontline's going to be Skaven slaves, supported here by a Plague Priest. So Plague Priest is going to be rolling forward. As these Skaven slaves get run over and annihilated by the Dark Elves, you basically just summon rats to kind of support them. On top of that, we have three groups of the standard clan rats here. In the back for our firepower, we do have the Teethbreakers Rattling Gunners. So these guys, of course, you guys have seen them, and man, Skaven just getting DLC back to back. These things are really, really strong for sure. But again, they have the suppress mechanic, and you'll probably notice I don't really have too much to protect in this army because again, some of the new DLC stuff like Teethbreakers and these Avalanche Mortars are very expensive. These guys are 1,400, these guys are 1,000. So if I lose this part of my army, I pretty much just lose the game. So I have to be very, very careful here. So to protect them, I actually like these guys a lot. In the beginning, I was trying to kind of find a niche for them. I was like, to use them in the front line to kind of mow down infantry with their AoE damage. But really the best way to use these guys is as a second line defense tool. What you do is you just sit them by your guns and your other things like that. When your opponent tries to blitz in with cav, or they try and blitz in with elite units or lords or anything like that, you basically pop the seismic snare, lock them in place, and then mow them down with rattling gunners. It's actually really, really damn strong. So we have the Warp Grinders there. On top of that, we do have the Ixcha's Triads, which have quickly become my new favorite unit here. I like their paint scheme quite a bit. I think that's some Reaper Blue right there, it looks like, with some dry brushing of some Abaddon Black, perhaps. But these guys, nonetheless, do have Doppelgang, so they can make copies of themselves. 3 charges, but what's really good about this is it's a disruption tool. So you can scout with it. You can also use it to block cab charges. It's very, very powerful. Oh, look at their legs. They got like some Ninja Lightning going on. Kind of looks like 40k Night Lords a little bit. But yeah, the Ixcha's Triads, very, very good unit. And I think they're going to be seeing a lot of play. My initial assessment, I was like, they seem a little bit overpriced. I don't know how good they're going to be, but the fact that they can use those doppelgangs on 3 charges and they can also block charges, scout things, like get line of sight is very, very good. On top of that, we do have Avalanche Mortars. These are by far one of the best units in the DLC. 250 range, 404 missile damage. They hit like absolute trucks. If your opponent doesn't deal with these things, they're going to have a very, very bad time. So that's pretty much it for my army. I think there's some other stuff, some gutter runners up in the front who are going to be doing some scouting, a little bit of a Clan Eshin Vanguard. And of course, we have the Deathmaster, so he's really fun for sure. He has a snare, he does have that AoE whirlwind effect, and he does also have this nice aura, the Cloak of Shadows, which lowers melee defense and leadership. Very neat stuff. And for my opponent's force, the great Lore Master of Sotek, for his leadership, he does have Malus Darkblade riding atop Spite. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So Malus has 2 sets of abilities. He has 2 when he's in his standard form, the Blood Price, which gives him 700 plus weapon damage. It's insane. Ward Save, he does also have the Demon's Curse, which I think is going to be a game-breaking ability. Not game-breaking, but it's going to be a meta-defining ability for Dark Elves in some ways. This thing basically has a huge radius. So let's say you have a bunch of Coldwood Knights fighting Dragon Princes. You pop in, you tank their melee defense, you tank their leadership. In blob fights, of course, in multiplayer, these like big, heavy cav fights are so decisive. So having that is very, very good. And of course, he can transform into Tazarkan, I think that's how you say it, the Drinker of Worlds, which is a bit of a death sentence. So I've kind of messed around a little bit with him. You got to be really careful not to pop this early in the battle, because if you do, he starts to take incremental damage. Tazarkan basically just kind of eats away at his soul, and you'll lose the game very quickly because he just kind of goons himself. So one of the better ways to deal with him, like once he pops it, he gets to heal to full health, he becomes unbreakable. It's very, very powerful, but basically if you're playing Dark Elves, you just want to wait till the bitter end. Wait till you absolutely have to pop it, but also make sure you pop it before your leadership breaks. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to pop it. But yeah, just make sure to kind of play with caution here. The demon, of course, is two-sided, very dubious there. And we do also have the Warp Sword of Cain here for Sotek, and this is a great item. It gives him perpetual healing, so even when you're in Tazarkan form, you're going to be getting the healing from the Warp Sword of Cain, which is nice. It won't out-heal the damage he does to Malus himself, but it's still very strong. On top of that, he does have the new Master. The Master is an anti-large specialist, pretty good against Doom Wheels, Flares, Plague Furnaces, all that sort of stuff. And he's got some Coldwood Riders here in the back. And for his main army, it looks like a Bolt Thrower, a couple groups of Corsairs, Blackguard. Oh, he's got the big old Blood Rack Shrine. So this thing is actually going to be pretty cool with like Crone Hellebron and things like that, because it has some really good kind of bum rushing tactics. So if you take a look here, it buffs your troops' melee attack and leadership, and it basically nerfs those stats on your opponent. So if you use this stacked with like Crone Hellebron and the Fury of Cain and just have a bunch of like Corsairs in your front line, you're going to get a pretty aggressive frontline push, which is very neat. On top of that, there's an Angry Hydra on top who is going to be shooting beams out of her eyes. It has the same missile attack as the Medusa does. But yeah, so this is not all of the new units. There isn't going to be a standard Medusa, but there is a Scourge Runner Chariot as well up on the high ground. You can see this guy lurking up here. Does have anti-large, armor piercing, very, very good against like Rat Ogres, Hell Pits, like Plague Priests. These things are actually really solid. I've done a little bit of testing with them against like Beastmen and factions like that with like Minotaurs and Giants, and they do a ton of work. Plus, against Skaven, really good dual purpose. These guys are also quite good at charging units on the ground and just killing lightly armored infantry. So let's get the show on the road, guys, and have some fun. So you can see that the Scourge Runner Chariot's up in the high ground, going to be shooting down at some of my rat boys. They do have 150 range. Now, I think my Rattling Gunners are a little bit less range. They're 145. So with good micro, Sotek should be able to keep these guys away from my Rattling Gunners pretty effectively. And yeah, they shoot while moving. So basically just going into some of these clan rats and Skaven slaves and, you know, getting some decent value there. But for the most part, you definitely want to be shooting Plague Priest. I would probably honestly save the ammunition myself. So here you can see that the Plague Priest is going to be scooting out here, just kind of trying to serve as a bit of a buffer. Teethbreakers were chasing, but I realized pretty quickly I couldn't catch them. Really good play here by Sotek. He's going to be using this terrain here, so Malus Darkblade and the Master and the Cold One Knight's going to be coming into the forest here. So unfortunately, I can't really draw line of sight, but I do have the Ixcha's Triad, so I can send some clones over there to kind of scout things out. And up here in the front, you can see that the Gutter Runners with Poison going to be coming in, dropping some Shurikens here on the Blackguard of Nagarond, who are very heavily armored. But nonetheless, I'm basically just trying to slow the advance of this main Dark Elf force, knowing that the Blackguard and the Corsairs and these other troops are going to be very threatening. And also, something I didn't realize, and I totally forgot, is that the Bloodrack Shrine, I did not remember this during the game, but of course she has those missile attacks, so she's going to be shooting in as well. We have ballistas, and of course the bolt throwers, and yeah, look at that, just blasting a hole in those Gutter Runners. So pretty good anti-skirmishing capability so far out of the Bloodrack Shrine. Up to 17 kills on Gutter Runners. That's really not bad. That's how I took so much damage. I did not know it at the time, but man, that is brutal stuff. So here in the back, you can see that the Scourge Runner Chariot's going to be lurking around the back of my army. And here I'm going to be dropping concealment bombs on the Teethbreakers to try and get the jump. And then these Rat Boys are going to be opening up at the back and should be able to do some good damage. But more importantly, they do suppress these guys, putting their speed down to 54. So I probably should have timed that with like some Rat Ogres chasing, who do of course have a 60 speed there. Nonetheless, the Dark Elves are advancing, and you can see the Avalanche Mortars are going to be opening up shop, basically just going after the Black Guard here, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe we were switching on to the Dark Shards. I'm not quite sure, but really cool skirmishing so far from the Bloodrack Shrine. I was really impressed with its missile attacks, and yeah, here come the Avalanche Mortars. They should be shooting, or was I actually switching over to the Forest? I think I might have been trying to get on the Colden Riders over here in the trees. I can't quite remember. Anyways, in the back, Scourge Runner Chariots circling about, and I do have the Ixcha's Triad. So these are the clone, and they're going to be running into the trees just to give me a line of sight and kind of obstruct things and just cause problems. And oh, the Avalanche Mortars just wreaking havoc there on the Blackguard, doing so much work, and they're down to 69 models. That's what she said. Certainly very, very good bombardment here coming in from the Avalanche Mortars. Here comes another volley. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here it comes. And it spread fires at the bottom, and that's not bad. Not the most accurate volley. You can see kind of a little bit of a collateral damage here in the back from those bolt throwers, but certainly it's not quite paid for itself. But if it's able to take out some Blackguard, that's going to be very good. So Sotek coming in with the fireball, going after the Death Master, who takes the fireball right in the face, but it looks like he might have been like on the ground and it went over him, so he might have unintentionally matrixed that thing. So right now we're going to be shooting the mortars at the cav units, and they're actually really good against cav units as well. You can see the spray damage. I mean, he was able to juke it pretty effectively, but nonetheless, we still got some really solid value there against the Cold One Knights. And the Teethbreaker is going to be coming up to deal with that shrine, which is getting a little bit danger close. As my clone units were able to flush the Dark Elves out of the forest, we're also going to be sending our Gutter Runners back here to try and flush out the Scourge Runner Chariot. And you can see the Poison Slings doing some okay work. But in the meantime, you can see the mortar still providing some good bombardment here on the Blackheart Corsairs, and the Deathmaster is kind of just looking for an opportunity. I thought maybe let's go after the Sorceress, but I feel like it's a little bit risky. The Sorceress, of course, does have the supporting fire of a couple Dark Shards, but I think I end up going for it anyways, just being really greedy, thinking I could just kind of nuke him down. But it looks like a fireball to the face is going to be going down. A summon from the Plague Priest as well. Plague Monks are coming out. Nice fireball hitting the Deathmaster right in the dome, and as soon as Sotek switches the Dark Shards to kind of shoot at my Deathmaster, I'm like, nope. I'm going to nope right out of there. We're just going to run because Deathmaster, though he hits like an absolute truck, does have that scaling damage. He's very, very squishy. He dies very quickly, so you have to be very, very careful with him. So the Plague Monk summon's going to be quite nice. He's a plague-ridden rat's going to be surging into the back, getting those flying jump kicks and anime attacks here into these Dark Shards. And the Dark Shards, man, the scheme for Graef is really, really cool looking, but they should be able to deal with those archers, which will be quite nice. And the Dark Shards are able to force me back. So basically just trying to like distract things in the front line, using the Skaven slaves and these other troops just to kind of cause problems, while letting my Rattling Gunners as well as my mortars continue to fire. So the mortar's still going in, but pretty low on ammo. As far as kills, they're up to 32 kills, but all the kills they've gotten, ooh, nice shot right there, have been really substantial. Rattling Gunners opening up on Malus, doing a ton of damage. Malus Darkblade taking probably about 600 damage there. Certainly no joke. And the Deathmaster just waits on the wings. And when you're playing with Deathmaster in kind of this defensive missile style play, it's really just be cautious with him. Wait until you're able to isolate something. Don't get too greedy because he dies like almost instantly. I had a game against Thorgrim Grudgebear where I literally lost him in like a good like 5 or 10 seconds. He goes down very, very quickly. So the Summon Rats continue to surge forward. Clan Rats pushing forward. We have, I believe, Skaven slaves and some other troops fighting up here in the front line. And the Rattling Gunners now are going to be setting their sights on the Bloodrack Shrine. Now, as far as the bounce of power goes, it's pretty even. You can see Malus Darkblade still lurking in the wings here, just waiting for an opportunity to get in. And we're finally able to get a decent jump on the Scourge Runner Chariots, as the Rat Ogres are able to, I believe, take out a model here. It might have been the Gutter Runners as well, but it looks like Sotek is going to be countercharging here with the Cold One Knights, who are going to be jumping in to cause some problems. Now, as far as the front line goes, he's taking a little bit of work, and it looks like that was a... Oh, that might have been a misclick there, unfortunately. I think that Burning Head was meant for some of these guys, so a little bit of an unfortunate situation, but it certainly happens to the best of us, and now we have the Clan Rats and Rat Ogres who are going to be surging in to fight these Cold One Knights. Here comes the fight of fights, and there they go. Now, Cold One Knights, of course, very good against Rat Ogres. Oh, and the Burning Head actually ended up getting some good value out of nowhere. Whoa, that was wild. Wait, is he casting another one instantly? That must be some sort of a bug or something. Okay, that was just like a bit of a delay there. So it ended up getting value regardless. Now the mortars have switched onto the archers. They've done a really good job taking those guys out. Summon Plague Monks are chasing down these casters. But now, guys, we have a bit of an issue as Malus Darkblade is going to be coming in, but the Deathmaster is a cunning foe, and he's going to be falling back. And here we go. So the Deathmaster sigil has been popped on Malus. He's slowed down. And from here, we're going to be getting the Ixchas Triads, the Eshin Triad ROR, and we're going to be sending those guys in. And these guys, of course, do have anti-large, they have armor piercing, and Malus Darkblade was snared pretty much that entire time. But these Triads have 54 speed, they're no joke. So as far as like catching these type of units like Malus, very, very good at that. And you can see they're getting some decent poke, but the Demon's Curse is active. Plus we have the Bloodrock Shine charging in. These Ixchas Triads probably going to break relatively quickly. As the Rattling Gunners with massive Overwatch fire coming in, just pounding into these guys, doing some really, really solid work. And we did also have the Warp Grinders able to finish off some Dark Elf Infantry here. But here comes the Deathmaster. He's going to be leaping in, going after Malus, but Malus looks pretty demonic there. The Blood Price popped, a lot of scary ability, so the Deathmaster comes in, he gets a shank, and he runs away. And Seismic Snare has been popped, so guys, this is what I'm talking about. So good. Warp Grinders here popping an AoE snare. It snares down the Bloodrock Shine. It snares down Malus. And if this Master comes into the radius of their effect here, it's going to snare him too. They don't necessarily have to start there. And the Rattling Gunners just going full Last Samurai and taking out that Bloodrock Shrine in conjunction there with the Warp Grinder. So just a single play from those guys can be really, really strong. And you can see here, I believe Malus is able to move now in the Master as well. So they're going to be jumping into the Rattling Gunners. But what I do is I use Ixchas Triads to actually summon a decoy. So the decoy summoned, and like I'm telling you, you can use it as like a roadblock. They don't do any damage, but look how tar-pitted this Master is now. He's completely blocked up. And Malus is not in his demonic form yet, but he's probably going to be going there pretty soon as he's fighting Triads, he's fighting Rat Ogres. Certainly not the best situation for him here, as there is a lot of anti-large and armor piercing and that kind of blob. So let's see if we can catch the transformation here, as I know that's what you guys are here for. And Malus is going to be releasing to Zarkan, the Drinker of Worlds, and here he goes. So it looks like he reappears as an angry Velociraptor Edgelord, doing some great AoE damage. Reaper of Souls, so instantly just pops my guys in the face, draining damage. So Reaper of Souls is pretty much like Soul Stealer. It heals him, it does AoE damage, and he's able to do some really good work. But in the meantime, the Deathmaster is not going to be resting on his laurels here. He's going to be jumping in and going after this guy with his Triads, and it looks like they're able to take down that Master. The Master very low, or at the very least, he's going to be breaking and running away. So now I have to be very careful. The bounce power is kind of creeping back towards the middle a little bit as Dazarkan is loose. So Deathmaster not going to be having any of that. I'm basically going to be running away, just trying to poke him down with Teeth Breakers, just occupy him with Tar Pits. And here come the not Sundering Blows, but the, what is it called? Suppressing Fire going in, which is going to be slowing him down to 44 speed, allowing the Deathmaster to get away. So Clan Eshin, ultimate sneakiness going on, but he is going to be taking incremental damage. So if I can get any work on him, just lower him and keep my distance, eventually he's going to be going down himself, which is very, very nice. In the distance, we do, of course, have the Plague Furnace fighting against some of these Blackguard here. We have some Clan Rats going as well. Bit of an unimportant engagement here, as the real kind of epicenter of this battle is right here. Now, if Sotek is able to get to Zarkan and take out the Deathmaster, I could be in huge trouble and probably honestly would have a substantial chance of losing this game. So knowing that is the case, I get my Rat Ogres, I get a decent surround on the Sorcerers, Deathmaster going to be going over here, while Tazarkan just shreds my Skaven Slaves and Teeth Breakers with his crazy AoE abilities, Bloodstorm going down. Just, it's so good against light infantry. Actually not bad against heavy infantry as well. So here you can see the Deathmaster is going to be surging in, going after the Sorcerers. She is on foot, so she's certainly not going to be able to get away, as Deathmaster Snitch going to be coming in, getting those attacks, and let's see how quick he's able to take her out. Again, he hits like an absolute truck, and it looks like she's getting back up here, but probably just stay down, kid. Probably not the best idea, as you can see that, yeah, the Deathmaster is just, I think the Rat Ogre is just karate chopped her at that point. I'm pretty sure she was like shattered. Yeah, I think we just broke her and basically going to use the Rat Ogre. So at this point, I saw the bounce of power was going pretty heavily in my favor. I pretty much knew that the game was over, but I had to go in for the final duel. We have the Deathmaster coming to steal the power of Tazarkan, perhaps. Going to be charging in there. We do have the Deathmaster Sigil off cooldown. Of course, there's going to be a Reaper of Souls going down once again, which is going to be healing him. So look at that healing. It's pretty substantial. It definitely outpaces the damage he does to himself, kind of keeps him going. So the Deathmaster coming in for the final charge. You can see the rest of the Skaven seeing the Dark Assassin of Clan Eshin coming in for the kill, and they don't want to steal his kill. So that's certainly not a good situation. So I use the Sigil. He leaps in. Oh man, he gets taken out by the Shurikens, it looks like, from those Gutter Runners. That was a pretty cool scene. Deathmaster like throwing his Sigil, and then all the Shurikens coming in with the dagger stab just to finish off Malus Darkblade in his demonic form. It was a really fun battle for sure. And we got to showcase some new units, and you know, one of the things from the Dark Elves I was really impressed by was the Bloodrack Shrine. That thing was pretty solid. I mean, 104 kills, despite it being kind of kited, it still was able to get some decent value from the Medusa on top. But I think with some really aggressive infantry builds, using a bunch of like Corsairs or even Bleak Swords and just kind of mixing that in is going to be pretty scary, because the missile attacks like actually hurt really bad. Even if they were to shoot something like Demogryph Knights or you name it, those guys are going to be relatively scary for sure. But yeah, the Bloodrack Shrine, quite solid. It did some serious work. Now, as far as the other stuff, I think Malus, if I just have to look at it in a vacuum, I think Malus Darkblade is more competitive than Deathmaster. They're both pretty good, but I think Malus just has so many tools. And this game we got to see, you know, even when he got caught and beaten up, he was able to come back and pretty much just kill everything that was on top of him. And having 2 lives plus an unbreakable form is so good. Because even if you looked at Malus in a vacuum without his demonic form, I still think he wouldn't be a bad lord. He probably would have to be cheaper, but his 2 abilities he has there, the Blood Price plus the Demon's Curse, are both really good. Like a massive AoE debuff on leadership and melee defense is really, really solid. And the Master is pretty good as well. He didn't get a chance to really shine here, but again, I think it's a nice inclusion. And I think the Master is going to really be seeing some play up on his Pegasus, because he can fly on a Pegasus in which he has pretty good AP values, plus just damage overall, mobility, anti-large. Very, very solid. And Scourge Runner Chariots, I think, are going to see a lot of play as well. I think there's a couple matchups in which they're very good. I like them a lot against High Elves, actually. And I have another replay coming up, perhaps after this one, that I can show you guys with some Scourge Runner Chariot action. So you guys will get to see that in action. So anyways, guys, as far as the Skaven build goes, I think this is kind of the direction you want to go with like Clan Eshin stuff. Basically, if you're going to use the mortars, or you're going to use kind of the triads, basically just use them in like limited numbers. Use the avalanche mortars in the back. Really support them with the warp grinders. But really, I think warp grinder is kind of a hidden MVP this game. Being able to, that was a very clutch moment. Like, my lines broke. We had Malus, we had a Master like charging in with the Bloodrack Medusa or the Bloodrack Shrine. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get like crumbed here. They're gonna get Deathmaster. Malus is faster than him, but we were able to get the Warp Grinder in position, lock them in place, and then take them out with the Rattling Gunners. I think that combo is very, very strong, and I look forward to exploring it more in like tournaments and competitive play and things like that. So yeah, pretty fun stuff. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this Clan Eshin versus Graef showdown, and stay tuned for game 2, in which I'm going to be playing Graef facing off against, I believe it was High Elves and Turin. It's a very fun game coming up soon. Cheers, guys.